Hello all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harrison. Each week I'm joined by Harry, Hunky, Huggable... Okay, hold on, sorry. Did you hear that noise, Jim?
No.
It sounded like a... Are the cats in the shades in the bedroom or something? Can you just look around the corner real quick?
Why? Hold on.
I don't know, I just heard loud, crashes that sound like blinds.
Oh no.
Our eldest cat and our youngest cat do not get along very well, and they're constantly sniping at each other.
The best part of this is I was like, oh, is this part of the opening gag? Is this Brad's going someplace really unconventional this week?
It's my Bill Hader WWDC opening number.
It's like I don't think "Go Check the Blinds because the cats might be fighting" starts with an H, Brad.
Anything, babe?
The cat coast is clear.
All right.
Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harris, and you don't know it, but this is the second time I've recorded this opening because of some cat calamity. Take 2. Each week, I'm joined by some of my favorite hunky, hairy, huggable homos to discuss a topic near and dear to our heart, of course, that being movies. Sometimes we even branch out a little bit beyond movies. Not often, but it's been known to happen. But with me, as usual, are my wonderful co-hosts, Jim Pugliafico. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, guys, and welcome to the podcast, everyone.
And Will Lindis is here as well. Welcome, Will.
Hey, I am here, and thanks for welcoming. Hey, guys.
So, I have a very special announcement. Are you guys ready for some special announcement-ness?
Totally.
Yeah, go for it.
Are you on the edge of your seats?
Literally.
Uh-huh.
Drum roll, please. Wow, really, Google Effects? Second week in a row, the noises don't work.
Google, you have failed me for the last time.
What
Tell
the
me, man,
hell?
we need a legit soundboard program.
We do. No more of this Google shit. Anyway, it's Jim's birthday tomorrow. Tuesday, if you are listening on digital tape delay, you probably missed it by a couple days. Don't you feel bad. Don't you feel bad. But if you're watching live, you still have time to wish Jim a happy birthday.
Hey, I'm
Thanks.
watching live.
Thanks,
Happy birthday, Jim.
Thanks, babe. Thanks. Another year down.
That makes you
On
what? Makes
On
you
my march to 35. I'm almost be there.
Oh, you're gonna be 42. What the hell are you talking about? Don't lie.
Whatever.
All right. Well, happy early birthday, Jim. Oh, Will's got a party hat for the occasion.
I know.
I keep a party
know.
hat here just for such an occasion. Yeah. So, happy birthday, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Will.
Will's got a party hat. I'll put on a party. I'll put on a party hat, and we've got a cake for you, Jim.
Aw, thank you.
Virtual cake. It tastes virtually delicious.
No calories, but all the fun.
It sounds like none of the fun.
Maybe I'll wear the party hat the whole show.
You totally should. It's your birthday. You should put the hat and the cake on.
And the cake?
And the cake.
All right.
Put on the cake.
All right, hold on.
We're going to party like it's your birthday.
I'm working it. I'm working this Google crap.
For those of
party
you
like it's your birthday.
For those of you who are not watching the Google Hangout.
I love how you get these things on Google Effects and you get to props and there's one thing.
I know. It's a birthday cake. But at least it fits, right?
Right. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. All right, great.
There you go. Birthday boy.
We've actually arranged for a stripper. He should be showing up.
Apparently I'm 1 year old.
Well, you know, you're getting up there in age, I guess. But yeah, happy birthday, Jim. And
Thanks.
let's see. Do you have a birthday wish? You gonna blow out your candle?
I can't blow this one out. Wow.
That's kind of awesome, actually.
I am getting old.
For those of you who are not watching the YouTube shenanigans, you're probably like, oh my god, what are they doing? Could they just get to the fucking movie?
Cut this shit out already.
You know what? You know what? You should be watching the YouTube video because you're missing half the fun.
That's where all
That's
the fun
okay.
happens.
That's right. Well, we have a big show this week. We're going to be reviewing Spy, the new Melissa McCarthy Bond/Mission Impossible spoof flick. We'll also be talking about some of our favorite on-screen spies. And I don't know. I think this is going to be a fun convo. Are you guys ready to dig into some spy shenanigans?
Let's go undercover.
Oh my God, Will, really?
Yeah.
We're not going undercover if everyone knows that's what we're going to be talking about.
I didn't say we were good spies.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know if Jim's going to come up with some kind of magic sound clip concoction to serve. Ooh, sound clip concoction. I'm really proud of that one. I'm going to pat myself on the back.
I already know what I'm using. So.
Do you? Awesome. Jim is our marvelous, like sound producer, editor, whatever you call it. So, Jim, I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
Although I'm open to suggestions. If you got something better, I'll consider it.
I don't think I have any ideas.
There have been weeks where I'm kind of searching for, some kind of sound clip or something to put in there for the content that we have, and I struggle to find the right piece, and so it ends up being kind of stupid, but.
It's never.
Which reminds me, we all have to talk a little bit offline about, if we want a like a promo intro clip, a musical promo intro clip. We do have a listener that's offered to help us out with that.
Oh, how fun!
Mike, right? You guys know Mike Lovins.
Yeah.
We know Mike Lovins. We lovin' us some Lovins.
Yeah. Yep. So, we haven't really talked about it seriously, but I think that's something that he'd like to help us out with. So
that would be awesome. We've been
talk about what we're thinking about.
We've been talking about a Movie Bears podcast theme song for literally years at this point.
Right.
No, literally like 2.5 years, because that's how long we've been on the air.
Yeah.
Totally. I don't know. What would we want in a theme song? Would we want words or just like a rousing like metal theme, like to get your movie heart pumping?
It's probably because my mind's totally in like spy mode, but I'm totally imagining something like like one of those like Bond intros or anything like that with like the kind of the funky tune and like the woman like really overemphasizing every note as she's singing it.
Golden
Bears. Yeah, probably not that. Probably not.
Diamonds are forever.
Gonna go to a movie theater. See a film in your chair.
I don't think so.
So, listeners,
I'm going to veto that one.
We are not using these. This is the rejected song titles. When we get some, it's going to be much better. And Mike, of course, he's fantastic. So that's really cool.
Is it good? Anyway. Just ask the Movie Bears. Anyway, chairs and bears rhymed. I couldn't leave it hanging out there, so I had to.
Of course.
A rhyme or a pun. Is fun. Rat's not leaving that shit on the table.
Never.
Chairs and bears. I see what you did there.
You know it. All right. Well, here we go. Our favorite on-screen spies. Oh, wait. We're cleverly titling this episode "Spy versus Spies." Did you see what we did there? Spy because we're reviewing Spy versus Spies because we're talking about spies. Anyway, you get the idea.
I got it right now. I'm writing it down. I'll never remember it.
On your super secret decoder ring.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's see. Okay, so Will, you kind of had this idea to like keep our picks super secret, right? Like we were not letting each other in on the secret of stuff that we were going to talk about, right? So I have no idea what you guys are picking. You have no idea what I'm picking. So this should be fun.
This is going to be a lot of fun because it's going to be. I have no like. A peek behind the curtain. A lot of times on these episodes, when we have our lists, kind of in beforehand, we're kind of going, okay, well, I think I'm going to talk about this movie. So okay, well, no problem. I won't talk about that one. I'll talk about this. Or I wanted that one. So that we have a really diverse list. This time, we are completely in the dark. We could have all picked the exact same spies. We could have picked different ones. We don't know. We have no clue. We're going into this one blind, working off of only our wits and intellect to get ourselves out of this kind of crazy situation we put ourselves into. Or at least that's the bullshit narrative I made up. Laser watch, yes.
The laser watch.
So right up front, so I'm kind of predicting what's going to happen. At least with my picks are kind of obscure spies. Well, more obscure. So I'm guessing that because neither one of us probably wanted to pick a duplicate, we probably went away from the obvious one. So that means that the obvious spies that are out there may be left off our list. So, you know.
Welcome to the hipster spy list.
Yeah. So the James, who knows, James Bond might be brought up.
Yeah, my spy's so undercover he hasn't even been in a movie yet.
That's right. Nobody even knows about him yet. I just made him up.
You know what? I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say, how can you kick off this topic without talking about James Bond? So there you go, Jim. You can mark him off the list. I actually have two favorite James Bond versions in my heart. Of course, the original being the super, ultra, mega, incredibly hot Sean Connery. Love Sean Connery. And Daniel Craig, who's also hot in his own right. But I love his feltness. I love his accent. I love his parkour awesomeness. Kind of bookends, right? Connery, Craig, new Bond movie coming out. When is it coming out? Is it November? Spectre? I don't know.
I'm not sure. We'll take a look while you're talking.
It's coming out at some point. In any event, spy movies are not typically like my go-to genre. Really, really good friend of mine in college, we actually roomed together for a year. Damien had a bunch of the Bond movies on like VHS cassette tape. He had like the Bond Diamond collection, which was like 22 VHS tapes or something. Or were they DVDs? No, they were VHS tapes, because I think that was like 2000? I think it was 2000. Anyway, doesn't matter, but he got me to start watching some of these old Bond movies. And before that, I was like, oh, God, I don't want to watch those. My dad watches those. My dad's old. I don't want to watch that crap. But I actually really got into some of the old movies. Goldfinger, such a good movie. And again, one of those songs was, wait,
Dr. No.
Goldfinger? No, it was Goldfinger, right? Goldmember was the...
That's a different
Goldfinger.
Goldfinger is the spy movie you're looking for. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I was right. I was second-guessing myself. Anyway, so that kind of got me into the Bond thing, and then, I kind of started watching the Pierce Brosnan films because Pierce Brosnan was hot, but they were all pretty terrible except for GoldenEye. So when Daniel Craig kind of came on the scene, I'm just like, ugh, really, ugh. I'm over this Bond shit. But Casino Royale was a magicalness all of its own. That movie frickin' rocked hardcore and kind of just reinvigorated, I guess, the genre, right? Now we've had, how many Daniel Craig films? Is this the fourth one?
Spectre, I think, is the fourth, because we had Casino, Quantum, and Skyfall.
Right. Skyfall. Anyway, so yeah, James Bond, I love Bond at this point. Jim actually got the like Bond Blu-ray collection, Bond 50, 50th anniversary, and I think we've only watched a handful of them, right? So
we saw Dr. No and Goldfinger. I think we saw.
So after seeing Spies, starring Melissa McCarthy, which we'll talk about, it's totally made me want to go back and start revisiting those once we're done with our Godzilla movie marathon, taking place over several months. Yeah, but
watching a fucking Game of Thrones when that fucking ends.
One more episode. Episode.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Fucking so TV is getting in the way of our fucking movie watching.
Yeah, tell me about it. Fucking Netflix putting out like a new you gotta binge the entire.
A new gotta watch show every
2 weeks. It's
month.
Just 13 new episodes. But you're so good. But I have no time. But they're so good.
Orange is the New Black. It's coming out soon.
Yes.
Oh boy. Yeah.
But anyway. Bond.
That's really all I had to say. Bond rocks. Jim, go for it.
Okay. So I kind of racked my brain a little bit, and then I was looking through lists of spy movies and stuff, and we have a lot of the Bond movies up there, and there's a few other well-known ones that I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but might come up in this conversation. But then there's one that kind of stood out to me as a more recent spy, a much more recent spy, in a movie I think that we kind of all really liked, called Kingsman: The Secret Service, and that's Harry Hart. Harry Hart, Colin Firth's character in Kingsman: Secret Service. And of course now we have Eggsy coming up also as one of the spy guys that are in that movie. I really dug that movie, and kind of got me reinterested again in Colin Firth. And I think I had just seen Colin Firth in another movie called I think it was called A Single Man. Simple Man? No, Single Man. I mean, this guy he's just a typical British straight up badass spy, works for this super underground organization that has this insane training regimen that they go through, and they show some of that as they bring Eggsy through it. And he's got all the secret agent gadgets that he always has with him, to protect himself or to do surveillance or this or that. But I think it's awesome, and I'm really looking forward to the next Kingsman movie. They're starting to talk about it. I think there is going to be a second movie, and I think Colin Firth is going to come back in this movie. So I think, I don't know, Harry Hart. Just it kind of stood out a little bit from the ones you normally think of because he's still relatively new. But who knows? Maybe this Kingsman thing will take off if the second movie can follow in the footsteps of the first one.
Perhaps.
Yeah, it's a great pick, and it was one that was that was actually on my also ran list. Like I was like, I hope no one picks it, because if not, maybe I'll throw it in there. But I'm glad you did. It has the potential to be like a modern classic.
Definitely.
So good. Great pick, Jim. How about you, Will? What's your first one?
So I'm loving your picks, guys, so far. I'm glad you went with James Bond, because just like Jim predicted, I was like, well, the others are probably going to pick James, so I'm not going to pick him, so we don't double up too much. Like, I kind of metagamed it too much. But one that I wasn't sure would get picked, and that I thought has a spot on this list, maybe an unconventional pick, but I'm going to go with Austin Danger Powers, International Man of Mystery.
Nice.
Austin Powers.
Yeah. What I love so much about the Austin Powers movies is, first of all, Mike Myers is one of those guys who I think he has potential to be an extremely funny guy. He ends up being in a lot of kind of movies that didn't do it for me. And I think Austin Powers is probably the one that has had the most lasting cultural appeal, or at least of the different character roles that he played. We got 3 movies out of it. In case you're not familiar with it, these movies came out in the 90s. It's about this like 1960s British secret agent who gets cryo-frozen and then emerges in the 1990s, where he's completely fish out of water, where he was like the swinginest, lady-killingest man back in the 60s. He's kind of cheesy and kind of seen as a joke, in modern-day spy culture. The best thing about this movie is, of course, the comedy. There are so many moments in these films that are just ridiculously funny and super rewatchable, especially in the first one. As with a lot of comedy series, they don't necessarily age as well as you get into the sequels. But the other thing that I think is kind of cemented Austin Powers on my list is, for me, a good spy, especially in like the really pulpy type of spy movies, is only as good as his nemesis. And Dr. Evil is probably one of the most interesting villains of the 1990s. In fact, in many ways, he's he even steals the show from Austin himself. Of course, both characters played by Mike Myers. I mean, there was a good, not just the year it came out, there was a good decade there where people were doing the little pinky raise to the mouth and doing the $100 billion and talking like that and indie stuff. Like, it really became a huge cultural phenomenon, all this, like, Dr. Evil stuff. And well-deserved. It was funny, ridiculously funny. So, yeah, definitely not played straight, definitely played for laughs and gags, but I thought Austin Powers was a very, very interesting character, very fun character, and well-deserving of the spot on this list.
Yeah, I was
Go ahead,
not
Brad.
I was not the hugest fan of the Austin Powers movies. You know me, I have a weird funny bone, so what makes most people laugh makes me roll my eyes and want to shoot myself.
Sometimes.
But I will say there were some fun moments in the first movie for me. The fembots being a big part of that, I think. That was the first movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, where the girls in their like lacy little dresses have guns that like pop out of their boobs. That was pretty fun. I enjoyed that. And then wasn't there something like about a shark with like a laser attached to its head or something?
Sharks with frickin' lasers.
That's what it was. I thought that was pretty fun too. Yeah.
It's also where we got introduced to the character A Lot of Vagina, who one of the best named characters in movie history, probably second only to the James Bond character Pussy Galore.
Indeed. Jim, what did you think of those films?
I think I'm more in the camp of you, Brad. I wasn't a huge fan, but I did like a lot of the like goofy sayings that he came up with, and I liked the persona, and I also liked the kind of poke at, you know, this was making fun of a lot of those old '60s kind of spy movies that came out of Britain, but yeah, for me it's all about just the goofiness and Mike Myers was on a super hot run there for a while with his work on Saturday Night Live and all the characters that he created there. He was one of those guys that created characters, and he lived inside those characters, and he did that, for these movies. We don't see all that much out of Mike Myers anymore, though. But yeah, some of the lines, like I shagged her rotten, baby, yeah, just kind of floored me. But yeah, that's good pick, Will. Good pick.
What was his like key phrase again?
Oh, he had a few. That was the interesting thing about that character in that movie was it was so freaking quotable. Had the groovy baby and and he had a bunch of things that had to do with like shagging.
Shag.
Yeah.
And
yeah, baby, yeah. And it's a terrible Austin Powers impression. Yeah, he said the words yeah, then the word baby, followed by the word yeah.
Mike.
Well, good stuff. Awesome. My next pick, I know neither of you guys picked it. I actually went to the TV well for this one, but it counts. On screen Spies totally counts.
Really? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That counts, right?
Right.
Well,
I'll let it count.
Yeah, we'll wait to judge until after we hear the name.
Let it go, guys. Let it go. So, my favorite, one of my other favorite spies here is a man that you probably know and probably do not love, but I do. It's played by David Hasselhoff. I'm talking about the one and only Michael Knight from Knight Rider.
Yeah.
Eyes are rolling. Yeah. So every week, I used to love watching this show with my dad. Michael Knight would get in his faithful robotic car kit that could like drive itself, and you could hit a button and it would like jump over semi-trucks and could go super fast and shoot oil out of the back. Every week, Michael Knight would go undercover on a different mission, usually to save some hot chick who's gotten herself in over her head, doing something she probably shouldn't be. A little misogynistic, maybe, but this show was all about fast cars and hairy chests. Ding, clue.
It makes sense now.
And British like dry, sarcastic humor. And that's kind of where my funny bone lies anyway. So I really dug some of the kit comedy, if you will. But it always made me laugh a little bit that David Hasselhoff with his Jerry curled, feathered, whatever you call it, perm, is in his leather jacket with no shirt on underneath, and this week he's going to bust up a Peruvian drug cartel, and the next week some military air drone has been stolen from the government, and he and Kit have to go on the road to infiltrate the mob organization behind it. I don't know. I liked seeing Michael Knight sort of have to infiltrate all these different groups and all the danger that he would get involved with and all the action, and one of the things that I loved as opposed to Bond. So Bond, he has a gun, he's always shooting people. Yes, he has gadgets like little blowgun, feather dart thing, whatever. But Michael Knight never really used a gun. All he had was his wristwatch that he could use to call Kit to come to his rescue, or Kit could unlock doors through the watch, or Kit could loop video feed from a closed camera system so that Michael could get out of his room and prowl around and investigate, and he could take pictures with his watch. And it's so interesting because nowadays it's the technology is kind of starting to catch up with some of that, right? You can unlock your front door if you have the right lock system with your phone or your watch now. You know what I mean? You can take calls over your watch, which I love doing, product placement. A lot of those cool gadgets from Bond and especially Knight Rider are now sort of starting to come into being. So anyway, I loved it. I don't know if you guys, Jim, I know you weren't really a Knight Rider fan, but
I didn't really get to watch much of it, so I wasn't. I didn't become a fan because I didn't really watch it. It wasn't during my time really.
Gotcha.
TV watching.
Right.
But, yeah.
Right.
But, I'm aware of it, and who was the actor?
David Hasselhoff.
It was the Hoff, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I thought it was. All right, yeah. Okay. Did he have a hairy chest?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Now we know why Brad liked it. Now we know why
Yeah.
Brad liked it.
I'm
He was
pretty
totally
sure
drawn to that.
I mentioned
Forget all that other
in my
gadget
introduction.
If we had a third choice, he would pick the main character from Baywatch as his third spy.
I would not actually.
No.
I
Did they
totally
shave
would
him
not.
in Baywatch?
Did they shave him in Baywatch? I don't think so.
Yeah. No, he didn't.
Yeah,
All right.
No, he had a hairy
He didn't have
chest.
the beach body. No. Okay.
He had a hairy beach body.
Hairy beach body. All right. Great.
There you go. See, hairy chest
Nice.
and a hot car. Will, did you ever
Porn
watch Knight
star.
Rider as a kid?
Not a whole lot, actually.
No?
Yeah. Just for whatever reason, just didn't. Me and Knight Rider didn't really cross paths. Not that I had a problem with it, or it's I'm not watching this. It was just not in my viewing schedule.
Gotcha. All right. One man can make a difference. In my case, one man stands alone, but that's okay. That's all right. Jim, what's your last pick?
Well, if I knew we were doing TVs, I would have maybe had more to pick from. I might have picked something like, let's see, Agent 86 from Maxwell Smart from Get Smart.
Mm-hmm.
One of the better known TV spies of my time, and of course all the dudes from Man from U.N.C.L.E. We have a Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie coming out.
We do.
pretty
Right.
soon. And
There was a
so,
Get Smart movie.
Huh?
There was a Get Smart
there
movie in
was a Get Smart
2008,
movie.
but
Who
not.
played in that movie?
Wasn't it Steve Carell?
Oh, you're right. It was Steve Carell, yeah.
But
And
yeah,
it
not
sucked.
the
It
not
was
the same.
terrible.
No.
I actually think I saw that movie, and it was terrible, terrible, terrible. Yeah. It's one of those things where, they try to go back to these nostalgia wells, and they just can't.
Most of the
They
time, it
can't.
just doesn't
That
work.
Yeah, that ship has sailed. You can't jump on that thing again. Anyway, my next spy is very unconventional. First of all, what makes a spy, right? We've got to talk about what makes a spy. So in my mind, at least, a spy is somebody who typically is working undercover, right? They are kind of hiding their true identity, at least at some points. Typically, maybe working for an organization undercover to to influence other organizations or other individuals, right? Am I on the right track here?
Totally.
The spy. So from that, I'm like, ooh, here's a character that I kind of like from a movie that I love, and the character wasn't human. It was Ash from Alien, who was a spy that was put on board a spaceship to kind of collect intel and influence the mission. That was, the Nostromo at the time, and until he was, found out at some point in the movie. Spoilers. But yeah, the reason I picked that is because I love that movie so much, and at that point in the movie, it was a total shock to me when I first saw the movie that this character Ash, number one, was a spy, and number two, wasn't even human. It was just kind of a double whammy, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty freaking amazing. And of course, this movie was directed by Ridley Scott, who we're going to talk about a little bit later in spoilers, I think. But yeah, Ash, the android from Alien, is my second pick.
Nice. Definitely not a conventional spy pick, but the more and more you unpack it, the more I'm like,
no,
yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great.
It's not a spy movie, and he's not a conventional spy, but I think he definitely fits the criteria of a spy.
Absolutely. Well, we didn't say spy movies, nor did we say conventional spies. So
and for this reason too, because sometimes we uncover some kind of cool picks. That's the fun of these. Otherwise, it's just all three of us going Bond.
Yeah, fine. Jason Bourne.
Who surprisingly may not make this list.
I know.
We have one more pick. Let's find out.
He might make the list.
Let's see. Well, did I pick Jason Bourne? No, because I haven't seen the Bourne movies. So he did not make the list, although he would probably be considered a notable snub from this list. I had a few characters I was bouncing between for this last spot. The Arnold Schwarzenegger character from True Lies is one that I enjoyed quite a bit. The Gina Davis character from The Long Kiss Goodnight, and they were so close to making the list, but they got nudged out for something a little bit more modern, something that was saved by at least in my eyes, by the fourth film in the franchise, and that is the character of Ethan Hunt, played by Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible series.
Dun, 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 dun.
Very timely that you would bring this up.
Very timely, because depending on the way the summer release works, we may be talking about this character in the very near future. So the idea behind Mission Impossible, for those who may not know, you've got this group of spies who are, pretty much just Tom Cruise and his supporting cast, who go around stopping terrible people from doing terrible things at different parts of the world, while Tom Cruise does his own stunts and generates social media buzz for doing so. And they're definitely popcorn movies, but and they haven't always connected, but for me, he is a very quintessential spy character. He uses the gadgets, he uses the team, he infiltrates, he does the cocktail stuff, he pulls off the mask, and it's like, oh my gosh, it was Tom Cruise in that mask all along, when it just looks like some other actor for a bit. Worlds, it's big stakes, like world could be destroyed at any moment. All that subterfuge stuff. It's very pulpy. It is the stuff that spy movies are made from. And the fourth movie, and we've talked about it on this show a lot recently, which is probably why this one was so fresh in my mind. Ghost Protocol is actually quite good. This is a Brad Bird film. We recently put him over the coals a little bit for Tomorrowland, but this is a director who I think by and large we all respect, and I think he did good stuff, good things with this franchise with that film. I'm interested in seeing what the fifth film looks like. I'm interested in seeing what the next, what's Ethan Hunt gonna do next? What are all these characters gonna do next? And this is Tom Cruise. This is one of the biggest actors of our time, and this is
arguably one of the best actors that we have working.
And this is his repeat character. He plays a lot of characters where he's kind of like one and done in terms of the movies, but this is his franchise character. This is the one he keeps coming back to. So there's certainly something that is is important about that, even if the movies aren't always stellar. It is certainly worth noting, and I thought he belonged on this list.
Definitely a good pick. I know I'm really looking forward to the next film for sure.
Yeah, well, great pick. I was hoping that somebody would pick Ethan Hunt because, number one, we have the new movie coming up that everyone's pretty excited for. Everyone was talking about that trailer for a while. With well, I won't spoil it, but the crazy scene with Tom Cruise in it, with in the air. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
it's in the trailer. You're not spoiling anything.
Am I okay?
Or he does
some
his
people
own
don't
stunt,
even watch
possibly.
trailers, so yeah, yes. But yeah, I like Tom. I know Tom Cruise again is one of those actors that some people just for some reason really just dislike him. And there's a pretty large camp of people I think that just dislike him when you mention his name for some reason. But I think if you can get past that, I mean, the guy definitely turns in solid work time and time again. Sure, there may be a clunker along the way there, but I mean, man, we saw the Jack Reacher movie. I don't know if you ever saw that one. Jack Reacher from a few years ago. It was really quite good. Yeah, it was really quite good. And he's been in some great stuff. We won't talk about. What was the rock and roll movie we saw recently?
Rock of Ages?
Yeah, that was pretty terrible. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as a spy character, I loved the last movie. I thought Ghost Protocol was pretty awesome. So definitely excited for this one.
For sure. Well, there are so many on-screen spies that we could have talked about. I don't know. I didn't delve too deeply into the movie list because I was like, God, I'm gonna duplicate what someone else is doing. So that's why I went to the TV well. I mean, there's just so many to talk about. I think we ended up avoiding some of the most common ones. Jason Bourne being one of those. A lot of different spies out there. But you know what? That's okay because sometimes it's more fun to talk about the less conventional picks. But I couldn't let the topic go by without someone bringing up Bond. So. Yeah, I'll take the bullet on that one.
No. That's totally fine. Totally fine. Yeah. And there are so many different ones here. And if we were going TV, I would have brought up Disney's Kim Possible. Totally deserving of a spot. Nah, I'm just bullshitting.
I was sure you were going to choose Spy Kids, Will.
Oh, yeah, because to rep some Robert Rodriguez love.
Yeah.
It's this first Spy Kids wasn't bad. But I wasn't gonna put either of those kids on this list. Sorry.
That's
one of the ones I almost picked was a really old one. I forget. Will, I think it might have been you when you were talking about Austin Powers. Talked about those 60 cheesy, spy movies, and a couple of those involved a character called Derek Flint, played by James Coburn. Our Man Flint and In Like Flint. Everybody talks about everybody has that little saying, but yeah, I mean, I remember seeing those movies back then. I watched a trailer for it today. I almost picked it, but picked him to talk about. But oh my God, you go back and look at that stuff. It's just so over the top. They took the old James Bond movies and layered on several layers of cheese. He was a total ladies' man. Could do no wrong. Always had women around him. It was kind of nuts, but yeah, I almost picked Derek Flint. But.
Well, we would love to hear who your favorite on-screen spies are. So feel free to drop a comment during the rest of the show. We'll be happy to give you a shout out. Or if you're listening, again, digital tape delay. That's my favorite saying. I don't know why. Digital tape delay.
Digital tape delay.
Sounds so professional.
No, digital tape delay. It sounded great in the 80s, but not so good now.
It wasn't digital tape delay back then. It was tape delay.
Just right, yeah, no digital.
Yeah, I'm making things better. I'm modernizing. Hello. Come on. Anyway, feel free to drop us a line if you are listening in iTunes or Stitcher later on this week, and maybe we'll give you a shout out next week. But guys, are you ready to talk about this week's feature film?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, enacting some good listener feedback, and keep that stuff coming. We love it. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with our format, when we talk about a feature film, we like to talk about it spoiler-free first for about the first 15 or 20 minutes, and then we'll give you ample warning before we take you to spoiler pound town, so to speak.
Whoa. Getting a little hot for me.
Wow.
Lay the spoiler pipe.
So, feel free to stick around if you've not seen this movie, at least for the first segment. And if you're watching live, again, we'll give you a fair warning. But if you are listening, iTunes or Stitcher, you can refer to our handy-dandy show notes and just skip the spoiler section and come back for plugs at the end. But without further ado, here we go, our discussion of Spy. So, Will, why don't you give us a brief setup of this movie, and as usual, kick off our spoiler-free discussion, and let us know if you think people should see it in theaters, check it out at home, or skip it entirely.
All right, so Spy. This is the newest movie, written and directed by Paul Feig, starring Melissa McCarthy. And here, Melissa McCarthy plays this CIA analyst. She's used to working behind the desk, kind of feeding the information to the other spies so that they can get all of the glory in the field, while she chills at the desk and does the behind the scenes stuff. But because of circumstances that arrive, she needs to go undercover to help infiltrate this the world of this arms dealer who is plotting this plan with a nuclear bomb, and they've got to do this exchange here and this exchange there, all of the typical spy stuff, but now with Melissa McCarthy plopped right into the middle of the action. Is she able to save the day, or is she going to fall flat on her ass? For me, I wasn't sure what to expect of this movie going into it. This is one that premiered at South by Southwest while we were there, and I remember we were, I guess, kind of burnt out on Melissa McCarthy around that time, and thought, well, this one's going to be in theaters anyway. There were other things that we may not get a chance to see otherwise, so we totally skipped out on Spy. And while I'm very, very, very happy with the choices that we made, I do kind of regret seeing this with that big audience at South by Southwest, because this was a lot funnier than I was expecting. I strongly recommend you go see this, because for me, it's made me do a turnaround on Melissa McCarthy.
Turn around.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some of those movies from her recently that haven't been as great. Tammy was last year, and then there was the one.
The Heat.
The Heat was fine. The Heat was fine. I think we gave it I think when we reviewed it, we were like, yeah, it's pretty good. I don't know that we were necessarily frothing and raving over it, but I think we generally liked it.
Right.
And she had a few others. I forget the one where she was just kind of the person that was bouncing off of. I want to say it was Jason Sudeikis.
Identity theft.
Identity thief.
Yes.
Yeah, with Jason Bateman.
Bateman, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's such a fucking forgettable movie. I couldn't forget the person she starred with.
It was kind of forgettable.
But anyway, Spy. Spy is really funny. There are a lot of things worth watching this movie. First of all, Melissa McCarthy really delivers for me. She gets to do some action, and it works. It's funny when it needs to be funny. It's action-packed and exciting when it needs to be those things. She gets to play her character at a few different levels. Sometimes she's just crass and screamy in some of these movies, and I actually got to see her play emotional scale, which is something that I appreciated seeing here. Mm-hmm. As much as I loved that, I loved the supporting cast in this. Jude Law plays this very charming agent, kind of your typical Bond type, and he nails it because Jude Law is sex appeal on screen. Rose Byrne is one of those women who I'm now coming to the opinion that you can plop her in just about any comedic role and I'll enjoy it. I really liked what she did here, but more so than all of these different characters together, you have Jason Statham, the guy that we know as being crazy. Like I'm in Crank. I'm gonna snap a bunch of necks, shoot a bunch of people in the throat. Like I am the badass action star. He gets some of the best lines in this movie, and he nails all of them. It's not that he's never done comedy before. I mean, he's done a few things that have been comedic in the past. I mean, he was in oh my gosh, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and Snatch. And both of which had comedic timing built into them, but we haven't seen that from him recently. I loved seeing him in this movie. I loved the way these actors came across. I loved this movie. I think you should totally go see it. It's not perfect. There are a couple of characters that don't 100% do it for me. There's a couple of plot lines that drag a little much, but they don't subtract from the thing being funny. I found myself legitimately laughing out loud multiple times in the theater, and twice to the point where I missed a couple of lines afterwards because I was laughing so hard, like I was actually distracted. Like it was, I was belly laughed twice, and that's the sign of a good comedy for me. So yeah. I think you should go see Spy. It is not only is it a good comedy, not only is it a good kind of spoof of like the spy thing, but if you're one of those people who's like, I don't know, I'm just tired of Melissa McCarthy's shtick, give this a shot, because I think you'll be surprised at how much you like it.
Indeed. So we are a bear podcast, so let me just take a moment to throw this up here for you guys. There you go. Check it out. Jason Statham in all his hairy-chested goodness. I know you guys like your boys a little thicker. I like thicker too, but I like the thinner side sometimes.
No,
he's nice and in the middle of those.
Yeah, he's definitely crossover.
Yeah.
He's not a skinny guy. He is not a skinny guy.
Yeah. So I think, and this is the question I wanted to ask, and it sounds like you're already answering. Does he fall into like that middle ground area where he's sexy to you guys? What do you think?
I think Jason Statham's body puts him as one of the most fuckable people in Hollywood right now, because I feel like if you like kind of like the chunkier, bulky guy, yeah, he works for that. If you like kind of the more slender, athletic guy, yeah, he kind of works for that. He's got a crossover appeal, and that's a good thing to have.
He's got the dad bod going down. Hey, dad bod is where it's at right now.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys could watch it, but he's got some of that dad bod going.
He does have some dad bod. And you know what? If you are not watching on YouTube, you're totally missing this glorious picture of Jason Statham completely naked, like hanging out everywhere.
No, that's... You wish.
Our YouTube numbers skyrocket next week.
No, babe, that's me with Jason Statham's face pasted on. That's what you're looking at.
Oh,
one of those.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, no, he would never pose nude, but
maybe someday.
Anywhere. Yeah.
Maybe someday. Anyway, it's interesting. I expected to hate this movie. Going in, I'm like,
why?
I don't know. You know me and comedies, and I didn't see Tammy, but a little Melissa McCarthy goes a long way anymore these days. I did like her in The Heat, but I mean, she plays the same character in pretty much everything, including, I mean, that's just her thing, and that's okay. You know what? Susan Sarandon used to do the same thing. She was the same character and everything. I mean, Dolly Parton, you know what I mean? It happens, right? But going into this movie, my expectations were at one point, and my enjoyment of the movie were completely at another point. And this is one of those films that teaches me to try to temper those expectations, because you never know. I actually thought the writing for this movie was incredibly clever. I thought 95% of the jokes were totally funny. I was laughing out loud, which hardly ever happens, but I mean, like, I was loudly laughing during this film, and I'm surprising myself. I'm like, who's making that fucking noise? And I'm like, oh, that was me. I'm laughing. Wow, this is so weird to laugh in a comedy. But I thought that they did a great job. Will, I'm right there with you. The supporting cast was amazing. They had such a huge part of that. Jason Statham's hotness aside, I thought his character was really fun. I mean, a nice sort of way to kind of throw in some added drama, some antics. I love the Jude Law character. I love Jude Law in pretty much everything that he's in. That guy can do no wrong. I want to see more Jude Law. In fact, 2016 should be like the year of Jude Law. Maybe he'll even come and be the new Doctor on Doctor Who. I think that would be amazing. What do you think, Will? Jude Law as the Doctor? Would you watch that?
I do. I watch Doctor Who. Would I watch Jude Law as the new Doctor? I don't know. I kind of. I'll get back to you on that one.
Anyway, yeah. I would. I think Jude Law is great, and this is my part of the show. So what I think is all that matters. Anyway.
Nice, bro.
I know. Rose Byrne, she's another one of those, like, I don't often sit up and take notice of Rose Byrne for some reason. The last couple movies I've seen her in, Neighbors, she was in. She was very good in that. That was Rose Byrne, right? Neighbors?
Yep.
She played the wife. Yep. Seth Rogen's wife. Loved her in that. Loved her in this. I thought she was really, really great. Even some of the more, like bit part, like, cast members of this movie. Miranda Hart played Nancy, who is, when Melissa McCarthy goes out into the field, like this other CIA analyst has to come in, and she's Melissa McCarthy's like awkward friend, and so now she's the girl and like helping Melissa out. I don't know. I think everyone had a part to play, and everyone primarily played it really well. So if you're looking for a fun like Friday night kind of movie, if you're looking to laugh. If you're tired of Melissa McCarthy, this movie might actually, like me, kind of jog you out of that place a little bit, because I think they know what she does well, and they were able to leverage her in a way that took advantage of it without beating a dead horse for once. And I think keeping things going around with the supporting cast is probably a large part of that. Like, she's the lead in the movie, but I mean, a lot of the stuff that happens is not Melissa McCarthy. That's just my thinking. But this is definitely a go see it for me. How about you, Jim?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna, this is gonna be kind of a love-in, I think, this week. I really had a good time with this movie, from start to finish. I thought it was, it was very funny. I didn't think it was as funny as something like Bridesmaids. I think I got a lot more belly laughs out of Bridesmaids. But I think, most of the gags, as you said, Brad, like 95% of the time worked in this movie. A few jokes here and there fell flat. But the movie was also entertaining. It had so many great characters written into it. And I think that was the key to this movie, as you guys already said. They didn't just stick Melissa McCarthy in, put her in some funny situations and then call it a day. They actually wrote some funny, interesting characters. And then had some great talent behind those characters to bring those characters to life, and it worked. We talked about Jason Statham. I love Jason Statham in this role. He was so kind of out of the box, I think. He was kind of taking the character that he plays in, where he breaks necks all the time, and kind of put a little twist on that, and as being kind of this guy who has all this false confidence and machismo and bravado, but he's really not that. He's really not that great. He's kind of a dunce, and you get to laugh at his situations, and he's the perfect guy. He just plays that so well. And again, his character's not funny because of jokes that he says or jokes that they write, but just the way the character is written into the story and his ability to pull that off in his acting, which is a dimension of him that I didn't even know existed. So, good on him for that. Jude Law, we mentioned Jude Law. He's not in this movie a ton. He's without getting into spoilers, he's in it for a bit at the beginning, and then. But what I liked about his character is, even at the very beginning, when you weren't quite sure, hey, is this going to be a straight-up like spy thriller, or is this going to be a comedy? Even when he delivers like non-funny lines, non-jokey lines, you could tell he was having such a good time that they're like, I don't know. There was something about the way he played that character, like he almost like he was. It was meta in a way, like he was playing a character who was playing a character. I don't know if you know what that means, but like almost like the scenes when Melissa McCarthy was kind of directing him to do it. It's almost like he was a character playing a character, and that came through in the Jude Law, his acting. I thought it was really great. There's a lot of one-liners in this movie. I thought this movie was the funniest, I think, when Melissa McCarthy and Rose Byrne kind of got into it together.
Yes.
They traded one-liners back and forth. There was a scene on an airplane, that's all I'm going to say, where they were throwing the insults and one-liners back and forth that was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the movie took off. You have two really good comedic, actors kind of going at each other. I almost guarantee you there was a lot of ad-libbing going on during some of these scenes, back and forth, which I can't not wait to see, like the what do they call it? The outtake reel.
Yeah, the blooper reel, gag reel. Yeah.
Oh, the gag reel must be hilarious for this movie, so might be worth buying down the road. I also want to mention the opening and closing credit sequences in this movie.
Oh,
kind of blew me away.
Oh, yes.
Like, I thought the opening credit scene was almost as good as anything you would see in a brand new Bond movie, and we know how those are regarded as some of the best credit sequences ever. This one kind of played along that idea and did it really well, and I was like, wow, this is this was an indication that they took their time with this movie and made something good out of it. But yeah, I would say definitely go see this movie. I think bigger movies are gonna come along. Well, starting this weekend. We have Jurassic World opening up, but I think this is kind of like the perfect, light, funny, entertaining, and high-quality summer movie that we've needed for a few weeks now. And maybe this movie should have opened last week against, stuff like Pitch Perfect 2 or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I just think that this movie deserves to be seen, and I think people should see it.
You know what I really loved about this movie that I guess kind of made me worried going into it is a lot of times with this type of movie, you've got, Melissa McCarthy is a bigger woman, and when they put a large character in a spy movie or an action movie or something like that, a lot of times it's the characters aren't very capable. They become like the butt of the joke, and shit happens to them, and they kind of stumble and fumble their way towards like kind of a quirky, weird like resolution. What I loved so much about this is, yes, there were some fish out of water elements to this. I mean, she's desk bound, but one of the other things that's so great about her is she is a skilled, capable character, and we get to see some of that. We get to see when she succeeds at the things that she succeeds at, it doesn't feel like it was just movie magicked up or we're supposed to like take it with a grain of salt. Like, I bought it. I bought all of her different victories, for whatever reason they were, because of what came on the screen. She's we just did our list of like great spies. And of course, recency bias is a huge thing, but she is a great spy, and it was nice seeing a character who, if this film lasts with us in a couple years, could have actually made the list that we just got done doing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I totally agree with you. Especially as like a big person myself, you know what I mean? I think I'm a little sensitive sometimes to when like being big is played for laughs. Melissa McCarthy was on the was it the 40th anniversary of SNL a couple months ago, and she came in and did she played the in a van down by the river guy. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I enjoyed about that, spoilers I guess, she like flops down on the desk and like breaks the whole desk, and I laughed at it. Then I'm like, oh, right, let's have the big fat girl character be the one that, like, breaks the desk. And then I'm like, that's kind of crummy a little bit, you know what I mean? But I really like how in this movie she's big, but they still show her as very capable. Without getting into spoilers, we can talk a little bit more about some of those action pieces later on, but there's even some parts where she's, like, using her size to her advantage, and I'm like, that's kind of cool that they would go out of their way to kind of show that and put some thought into it. And her weight wasn't necessarily played for laughs in this movie, as it has been in like Bridesmaids, for instance, or some of the other movies that she's been in. The Heat, you know what I'm saying? I thought this movie did it very cleverly. So.
Yeah, they definitely downplayed that a little bit in this movie. I mean, you could tell it was there. Obviously, she's a woman of substance, or a BBW, as we might say, big, beautiful woman. But they didn't make that the focus of really any of the material. It was there. She was big. She knows she's big. She's, the jokes would be more about her dress or,
right.
her hair or whatever. And there were a lot of she dished out more than she took in this movie as far as there were insults flying back and forth in several points in this movie. That's probably where I laughed the most, but they didn't harp on that one aspect of it, which I thought was really good.
I agree. Well, guys, are you ready to get into spoilers for this movie?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's time.
All right. So this is the part of the show where for the next 15 minutes we talk about spoilers. So if you have not seen this movie and you value your innocence, now is your time to step away, refer to the show notes in iTunes or Stitcher if you're listening in a couple days when this comes out. There are some of you watching here on YouTube. First, thank you for joining us. Glad to have you. Second, you may want to step away for just a few minutes if you don't want to be spoiled. But I do have a live comment to read first, guys. Are you ready for a live comment?
Read it.
Do it.
Johnny Edson da Silva Mateus says, "Oi." That's his comment on our podcast. Oi.
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 I'm not sure what you're...
I think in the UK that's like a fuck yeah. You know what I mean? Like oi.
I thought
or
it was like...
could be like, oi, like, I don't like your list, or
right. Oi, vey. Oi, vey. These bears. What are we going to do with these bears?
Well, Johnny, anyway, we're not sure what you're oing or what your oi intention is, but we appreciate the comment nonetheless. Love us or hate us. We like to hear from you. Anyway.
Thanks for the comment.
Moving on to some spoilerage. Where do you guys want to start with this?
I have a couple places to start.
Jim has a couple places? Okay.
A couple of places. Was I the only one shocked to see not one, but two quick shots of dick pics in this movie?
Oh, yeah. That was nice.
Or did they take those out for the Texas screenings, Will?
Oh, no. We had giant dicks on the screen. I'm like, come on, I live in Austin. I look outside the window and I see giant dicks.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. So how do they? Oh man, that was kind of shocking. Like hard erect dicks in a R-rated movie. Is that? Well, I guess we've seen that before.
I didn't expect to see dick in this movie. Like
no, I didn't either.
Yeah.
Not an American movie.
Right.
Anyway,
but they played it for just the right amount of laugh too. Like,
and it got a lot of laughs in our theater. Yeah.
Those dick sequences, they kind of flash across the screen fairly quickly because it's kind of like the, oops, what's also on the camera? Oh, of course, dick pics. And because of how serious that particular sequence had been, all the stakes and stuff like that, what I loved so much about those dicks, aside from the fact that I got the surprise of seeing some dicks in the middle of a movie, is it was a very nice way to introduce some levity in a way that didn't make the characters break the gravity of the moment. Like, the things on the screen changed it without having the characters stop and cracking a joke really quick. So, very smart writing to put dicks in.
I wonder if Adrian from Green Screen of Death is totally blushing right now by our dick pic conversation.
We kind of have to have our Adrian Green Screen of Death blush moment in every episode, don't we?
Well, Adrian, this dick pic's for you, buddy.
I have a feeling more of us talking about how fuckable Jason Statham was might have been more that moment.
Maybe there were two. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a good thing. And I guess there's one thing that I didn't care for as much in this movie, and I don't want to make this a complete, I don't want to derail too much from the love fest because this is a really good movie. But there was one character who I thought was a little overused, at least for my personal tastes, and that was the
Don't
character
say-
of Aldo, played
Oh,
by
No,
Peter
he was so
Serafinovich.
good. What are you talking about?
He was funny, but I feel like his inclusion in a couple of the later scenes, he just kind of kept popping up after I thought the joke had run its course. And it's one of those things, like when you hear the same joke over and over again, even if it's a funny joke, it devalues the joke a little bit. And that was the one thing, like, and again, it's a quibble. I probably could have cut him out of, like, maybe the final sequence and been fine.
well, it's funny because they twisted it at the end, where it's like, hey, I've been playing this character all along. He comes out with the cane, and he's like, all proper British, and he apologizes because he says, oh, I've only been playing this character. I think you're wonderful, blah blah blah. And then they twist it back around again, and they say, oh, was I? I love that because now it calls into question everything that he did in the movie. If they had played it straight all the way through, then yeah, I kind of agree with you. He's kind of Johnny One Note, right? He's this drooling Italian dude who's into big women, right, or something, and he finds her really attractive. I kind of like the Aldo character. He's Peter, played by Peter
Serafinovich.
Serafinovich, who was in oh God, what was he in? He was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in Shaun of the Dead, and
Yep.
he was also, for our TV fans, he played Lord Edgar Covington in Parks and Rec, which is character that was the one that first popped into my mind.
Anyway, I kind of like this character, but while we're on the subject of quibbles, I thought this movie had maybe one too many false endings.
Yeah, I totally
okay.
agree with that.
This movie had a couple of different false endings, and I thought that was a little bit too much at the end. I thought it kind of stretched it out a little too much. I think a little bit of trimming here and there would have made this really good movie into a really great movie. But it's a minor quibble. It didn't ruin the movie for me. It just kind of dragged it on a little bit.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah, I guess there was kind of a point towards the end of the movie where it's like, and this happens a lot of times in action comedies where you have to resolve all of the things that are happening on screen, like all of the plot lines. So all of the comedic moments have to then kind of take a back seat for them to resolve everything with a big action set piece. I mean, we saw it with like the 21 and 22 Jump Street movies, kind of the same thing. You have to kind of take a break from the comedy to do the action stuff. Again, trim a couple minutes out of this movie and you're fine. But at the same time, like, I didn't walk out of it going like, oh, the ending was so bad or anything like that. It was just, if we're, it's armchair quarterbacking a little bit. That's what I would change. But by and large, still good.
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be a Spy 2?
Oh yeah.
That would be interesting, and because Melissa McCarthy, again, she keeps kind of churning out these like one and done comedies, right? Like she's and some of them have been successful. Bridesmaids was successful. I believe The Heat did quite well for itself. But of the different ones that can franchise and turn into something else, I totally see it being this one, or probably more likely actually is going to be if the Ghostbusters movie does well, then she's going to be in multiple Ghostbusters movies. But I could totally see a sequel to Spy, and I think I'd be down for seeing one too. I think this character, I think she has the potential for some mileage.
I'm going to call it right now. So at the end of this movie, Rose Byrne goes to jail, but in Spy 2. There's going to be some kind of nefarious villain out there in play that only Rose Byrne has information about. And Melissa McCarthy is going to have to team up with Rose Byrne to go out there and track him down. And it's going to be a total buddy comedy. Spy Hard style.
She's released. Rose Byrne is released, but only under the condition that she has to stay with Melissa McCarthy the whole movie.
Right. And Rose Byrne is going to be trying to escape like at every possible moment, and Melissa McCarthy is going to have to like keep punching her in the face or something to like stop her.
What's interesting about that is like all of those sound like ridiculously like overused and kind of cliched premises, because we've seen that a bunch of times, right? Like that's how they do these sequels. But the thing is this particular story itself is actually the first one. This plot is very like hackneyed and cliched. Like this the actual, like, if you look at the plot description of this movie, there's nothing in here that strikes you as original. What makes it really work is more of the story elements, the way they filled in the cracks and way they made everything come together, the sharpness of the script and the comedic timing. So yeah, if they made the sequel and they used one of those cliched plots, but they wrote it as brilliantly as they wrote this one, I'd watch it.
Mm.
I might be back for it.
I want to give 2 shout-outs. We talked about the supporting cast. One person we did not mention, who I was totally delighted to see, was Allison Janney of West Wing fame as the CIA boss. I think we had just enough of her to be delightful. She was fantastic.
Yes.
I know, Jim, she didn't really do a lot for you, but
yeah, she wasn't in it that much. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought her bits about the pink eye were really, really fun.
I liked her because she got to play the, this may be a dumb reason to like this, but she is the tough as nails, like, I don't want you doing this bullshit type, like chief of police or head of CIA, in this case, like CIA upper management person. But you get to see that's usually a male authority figure. It was nice seeing her play it and play it in a way that was, by and large, she played it straight, and I liked it. It gave us something good to bounce things off of, to bounce these other characters off of.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. It wasn't bad by any stretch. It wasn't as comedic as some of the other roles. But she had to play it straight. She was the boss character, basically.
The other thing I really liked was the like alternate identities that Melissa McCarthy gets. Like, in these spy movies, we're so used to, oh, you're an international businessman, like playing a high-stakes poker game. No, you're a cat lady mom of 4 who's on the road because she won a trip from Mary Kay. You know what I mean? Like, if I were in a real spy agency, like, that's the kind of shit I would think would be successful. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I kind of enjoyed that. The joke did get a little old, though. At the end of the movie, like, she gets her other identity, and it's, kind of the same note again. But then in the credits, they were going through like all these other different identities. And it actually kind of brought the
kind of like the 23 Jump Street thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Basically, did the 23 Jump Street thing with the different character ideas all the way through the credits.
Right, and I thought that was fun, definitely.
And we don't
clever.
have to. We don't have to spoil it here, but there was a mid-credit stinger and an after-credit stinger. If you guys, stay for that, I think no need to. I don't know. We can spoil it, I guess, since we're in spoilers, but I don't know if there's any need to do that. But.
When Rose Byrne took her top off and had her boobies hanging out all over the place, dancing with a lampshade on her head during the credits.
What are you talking about? That never happened.
Brad?
The last end credits scene is really what you would call something from the gag reel or blooper reel.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And it was fun. It was fun to sit around and wait for.
I just wanted more Big Bear sandwich.
Yeah, I know. You almost got it, so don't complain.
I almost did. That's true, almost.
So close. Yeah, another thing that was nice about this is there were a lot of actors that are talented people who you've maybe seen in something before, who pop up for just a moment in this movie, and their roles are quite good. I liked Michael McDonald. He played the kind of the gadget guy in this movie. He's only really in one sequence, and he's very wry and kind of condescending in that scene. Plays it perfectly, and then he's off the screen. You know, like I like it when these types of movies can get talented, interesting people to play some of these smaller roles. Same with a character who was on The Office for several seasons. He was oh gosh, I don't remember the actor's name. But Zach Woods. He played Garrett on that, and he was in this movie. He was the man in the purple tie who has a very small scene. But he doesn't subtract from any. He doesn't like upstage everyone by being so hammy and so quirky that he just detracts from the movie. But he's just interesting enough to kind of to sell the role and move on. I like that in a movie. I like when you can have competent, solid, kind of one and done appearances from some of these actors.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I have to show something real quick. Earlier, I heard a crazy crash, and Jim kind of looked startled for a second. And Jim sent me photo evidence as to why. And let me see if I can pull it up here. Can I do it?
Maybe not.
Some spy technology as we uncover the mystery of what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, like there was totally like a crash. Come on, Google. You can do it. I believe in you. I have faith in you. I gave you a Tomorrowland pin. Don't fail me.
While we're waiting, though, just so we're not reticent and leave leave out that 50 Cent was in this movie as himself.
He was in this movie. But more importantly, Jim's suitcase was on this chair, and apparently the cat knocked it over so she could sleep on it.
Looks like, yeah, that's exactly what happened from that photo evidence. That's a closed case, I think. Well, it's an open case.
Anyway. Yeah. Yes, 50 Cent was in this movie, Jim. Were you...
in the unlikely scenario that I select any of his music for our show edit, we probably should mention that he was in the movie.
Man, that set he did in the middle 2/3 of the movie was off the hook. What did you guys... Walk me through this, guys. So on one hand, you have 50 Cent at this dance, and on the... Sorry, that's my best Jeff Probst tribal counselor.
It works. I buy it.
That's all you get.
It's pretty good, right? We have to critique the music in order to plug it in.
He was basically in the movie for one joke.
Two
jokes.
Two jokes.
Okay, 2 jokes.
So, yeah.
All right. 2 jokes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was a good joke, too. It was a Kanye joke, which...
That was pretty
funny. Was that one of your belly laugh moments, Will?
It was.
No, it wasn't for me, but I did appreciate that. In fact, that line itself, I was getting kind of annoyed that 50 Cent kept popping up because it was just like, oh, they got 50 Cent and like, they just kept throwing him the movie. But when he said, I bet you Kanye isn't. That was.
Kanye don't do this shit.
Right. Yeah. That redeemed, like, not redeemed, but that kind of made the whole like, why do they keep using him? Thing make sense. No, the things that made me belly laugh, it's dumb, but it was the line delivery by Rose Byrne. And this is not very PC, but hey, we're talking about a comedy here, an R-rated comedy. But they're on the plane, that really funny plane scene, and they're doing things, and they're kind of talking. They have this bonding moment, and Melissa McCarthy makes this kind of like this cheesy like toast, and Rose Byrne just very dry pan goes, "That's the stupid fucking retardingest toast I've ever heard," and then takes a sip. I laughed. It was the line delivery.
That was funny.
Perfect on that.
There were just so many good singers. Like one of my favorites was like at the end of the movie, like Rose Byrne is like wearing this like outfit, and Melissa McCarthy is like, did you mean to dress like a slutty dolphin trainer?
Definitely, that was one of mine as well. And I think that had to have been ad-libbed. Like that doesn't feel like it was written into the script, and the costume designer went out and got it. Maybe, but I have a feeling that one came up on shoot day.
Right.
Could be.
One other thing I'd say it was kind of a disappointment is I do like Bobby Cannavale in a lot of movies. It's unfortunate that he had to play the one of the big villain, the big bad in this movie, because he really didn't have much to do in a comedy movie where he's kind of the big bad, and he wasn't even the big bad that actually faced off against Melissa McCarthy, because most of the time it was Rose Byrne. But yeah, Bobby Cannavale is a good actor. You wouldn't really know it by this movie, but it was interesting to see him in this movie.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. Well, guys, I think we're ready to move on to some plugs. Would you agree?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that time.
Yeah,
Good movie.
I think it's that time. Good discussion. Good movie.
I just hope it gets some traction. We have Jurassic World coming out next week, so I don't know if this movie's going to have enough time to build word of mouth to get people in the seats to make it the success that it deserves to be, I guess.
It is getting a lot. It did get a lot of positive buzz. Like it's, and maybe that's the thing that'll help it out. This film is getting very widely positively reviewed, and that's not something that you expect from this type of movie. Like usually this type of comedy has certain critics a little bit more stiff upper lipped. No, it wasn't quite good, but it's doing quite well for itself. I know we talk about. Rotten Tomato scores are not the end all be all, but they do warrant the discussion sometimes. And for this movie to be at a 95% critical is crazy. You don't see that with this type of comedy very often.
Yeah, I mean its budget isn't released on Box Office Mojo, but it made $30 million in one weekend, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, best of luck, Melissa McCarthy and everyone else involved in Spy. Jim, why don't you launch us into plugs? What do you have this week?
I've got a couple of trailers that I want to talk about really quick. One was released, I think, today, actually, or Monday of this week, which is the day we're actually on when we record live. It's a trailer for a movie called The Martian. That came out today. I don't know if either of you two have had a chance to watch this yet. It's a movie directed by Ridley Scott. It's based on a novel, and I don't know. Forgive me, I don't know who wrote it. Maybe one of you could look it up. But it's got it stars Matt Damon as an astronaut, and I don't want to spoil anything else for people who don't want to watch trailers. But it's Matt Damon is an astronaut on this mission to Mars. If you think along the lines of last year's Gravity, that's kind of what this movie looks like, except it's directed by Ridley Scott, and it looks to be what I would call a hard science fiction movie, not a space fantasy at all. I don't think this movie has any, Martians, Martian monsters that come out of Mars, but take a look at the trailer. The trailer came out today. There's also a 3.5-minute long promo clip that kind of just introduces the characters that are in the movie a little bit. That's also really well done. And I know that Prometheus left kind of a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths with regard to Ridley Scott, but we got to remember that he gave us Alien and he gave us Blade Runner, two of some of the best science fiction movies that we have. So I'm really excited for this. It opens Thanksgiving weekend. I'm also a big fan of Matt Damon. The other people in the cast is not to shake a stick at. I mean, you got Jessica Chastain, Jeff Daniels, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Kristen Wiig, Kate Mara, Sean Bean. It's a really good cast. And the other trailer, really quick, Will, you will get a kick out of this. I don't know if you saw it, but a trailer for the movie Creep was released last week. And it does have a release date coming up. I don't know what the exact release is, but it's going to release in theaters and on VOD on Netflix around the same week. I think in July, if I'm not mistaken. This is a kind of an offbeat, found footage psychological thriller starring Mark Duplass. Brad, you know Mark Duplass. We love Mark
Definitely.
Duplass. He didn't direct this one, but he stars in it, and it was one of the highlights from South by Southwest. Not this past one, but the one before. So this movie's taken quite a while to get out there. But Duplass, I think, is one of the producers as well as starring in here, and he and his brother have worked out a deal with Netflix to get some of these movies out there. So I'm excited to see that one again.
Yes, this was one of our favorite movies from South by Southwest 2014. Very small movie, but a really good movie. Yeah, the details I saw were it's going to come out on iTunes on June 23rd, and then Netflix on July 14th. So right around the corner. And
Yeah.
this is one right afterwards. We kept thinking, like, I wonder when and if this one's going to get released. I mean, it's been a year. We've been kind of like, maybe it just sits on a shelf somewhere. I don't know. I'm glad it's released. I'm glad people are going to get a chance to see this movie.
Yeah. Check out the trailer. It's out there. The movie is called Creep.
Awesome. Will, how about you?
All right. So the thing that I want to plug is something that I haven't seen yet, but we'll be seeing by the time you've listened to this episode, more than likely. I'm going to be seeing this week Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, which is a movie that has had me super jazzed since I first saw the trailers a little while back. So I'm going to have a written review up for our site on the day the film comes out, which is on Friday, June 12th. So if you're wondering whether or not that's going to be the one to see instead of Jurassic World, well, let's face it, you're probably seeing Jurassic World. Everyone's seeing Jurassic World. But if you're seeing something else and want to know if it should be Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, check out our site, moviebearspodcast.com, and our Facebook page, and we'll have a written review for that film up that day.
Awesome. Speaking of Jurassic World, that's my plug. Jurassic World is coming out this weekend. I think we're going to get some bears together to go see it, and I think it's going to be a good time. A lot of people are excited for this movie, me included. Jim, I know you're not super pumped, but you're willing to go see it. Let's just have a little straw poll right now. Will it suck or will it not suck? Gut reaction. Will says suck. Jim, what do you say?
I'm hoping that it's going to impress.
Oh, I want it to be great. Yeah, I would.
I do too.
I want to see good movies, and I love Jurassic Park, but
I want it to bring back that same feeling that I had. Well, a similar feeling to the first one.
Yeah, but I'm not optimistic.
I'm gonna say it's gonna not suck. I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be good times, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Well, that brings us to the end of our show for this week. Guys, as always, thank you for joining me. This is a total blast. For those of you hanging out with us tonight, you're a little quiet. That's okay. Sometimes you're just in receive mode.
We got a 2-letter comment.
We did.
Oi!
Whether he was rolling his eyes at us or cheering us on, we don't yet know. But we'll take it either way, because if you're laughed at or being laughed with, you're doing something right. So, there's a little wisdom drop for you. Mic drop.
That was the other line that made me roll the mic drop reference.
I know, right? Definitely. So fun. Anyway, have a good one, everyone. We'll see y'all next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Da-na-na-na-na.